And now, our feature presentation.
I like it spooky.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the I Like It Spooky Horror Podcast. I'm Brian.
I am Clint, and stick around because later on in the show, we have an announcement about Indie Spotlight. Before we get to that announcement, let's get to some horror news.
So my news this episode bleeds all the way into the next segment pour, and I just stumbled across this morning of the recording. Fleer, which is a brand owned by Upper Deck, which most people that collect sports cards, or even some that don't, know Upper Deck. Upper Deck 2025 Fleer Scooby-Doo hobby boxes have dropped. Retailing for about $160. Out of my price range for this product, I'd like to be maybe around $100. Looks like 12 packs per box, 8 cards per pack. You get 6 golds, 3 serial numbered cards, 2 inserts, a creepy compound card, 6 stickers, and 1 memorabilia card. So I'm looking at the memorabilia cards. One's like a Scrappy-Doo, like his little name tag. One's the Mystery Machine attire. They have Velma, they have Shaggy, they have all the regulars. And then they have booklets. They have cards that have diamonds in them. They have like a flashlight and it's got a little piece of a chip of a diamond. Just fun, but a little too expensive for me. But I mean, you could go grab the whole set of like the base cards for $40 or $50 probably once, it settles down.
It does sound expensive, but it sounds right in the price range of the Fright Rag. If you want the inside scoop, you should talk to our friend, artist Brian Hoover, because he's illustrated for Upper Deck before.
Yeah, and I don't know if he did on this one. I know he did on the Looney Tunes one that came out not too long ago. And the Looney Tunes actually ended up in the smaller blaster boxes, is what they call them at Target. If you see all the Pokemon cards, they have little blaster boxes. So if Scooby-Doo ends up with a blaster box, I will definitely grab one. It seems like sports cards are big right now, but Pokemon and the Marvel, I don't know if you've seen any of those, but Marvel dropped a Chrome edition that people are clamoring for right now.
I haven't seen those, but for whatever reason on my Facebook feed, I get these videos now of people wheeling and dealing at card shows. And sometimes it's sports cards, sometimes it's Pokemon stuff. It's just, across the spectrum of pop culture. And it's kind of neat, those videos, because those people are just like, what are you trying to do? Give me a deal. Come on. It's like walking up to a carny at a fair, like pop the balloon, give me $5,
Well, and if you listen to any of those people, they always say they make more money off their videos than they do selling the cards. One guy's like, I want to buy everything. And the guy's like, well, I'll sell you 3 things because I need content for my videos.
Yeah, you wonder how much of that's staged, but those videos are kind of fun to watch.
So I'm being a collector. I'm going to go to a baseball card show, sports card, Pokemon, who knows what else they'll have there later today, and try to wheel and deal and see what I can get.
I'm still a little salty towards the sports card, I don't know, what do you call that, world, because, they rained on my flashback in Chicago weekend, but...
That's all right. It'll save us money.
Pretty much, and I need some.
But this is news, not poor. We'll get to that next, right?
We're so poor that we're already thinking about our money. So poor. Oh, wait, one thing I was going to say about the Scooby-Doo is it makes me think about our last episode where we had Butch Patrick on, and I actually kind of tied the two together, because if you watch an intro to Munster Go Home, it's just like the intro to like any Scooby-Doo episode. But Scooby-Doo and the Munsters both remain so marketable after all of these years, and they just keep coming out with stuff and people just keep gobbling it up.
How come we've never seen a Munsters do Scooby-Doo?
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to remember who owns the rights to that. I mean, Rob Zombie doesn't own the rights, but he's the last one to do anything with the Munsters. Maybe we should put a bug in his ear and say, do an animated. Hey, he did. Remember Rob Zombie did El Super Bistro, the animated movie? So, I mean, the animation lives there. Like, maybe we can get a crossover. That'd be cool.
That would be awesome. I'd watch it. I'd buy it.
You ever seen the Scooby-Doo where they do the animation stills, but it's like Jason Voorhees are at the camp? And
Yeah, those are fun.
So I'm going to give you a bunch of news stories right now to choose from. It's one of those episodes where there's so much in the news, I had zero idea which to cover. So Brian, you choose. I got a list. Here we go. We can talk about 28 years in 28 weeks. We can talk about Johnny Knoxville hosting the new Fear Factor. We can talk about Deathgasm, the video game, Stranger Things animated series, Young Frankenstein comedy series, official Jason Voorhees short, or Universal Hollywood Horror Nights expansion into Chicago. You choose.
There's other stuff I'd like to talk about more, but I feel like for us and where we're at, the Universal Horror Nights is probably the one that we would have the most to talk about.
Universal Horror Nights. Okay, so I'm kind of split on this one. It was roughly a week or so before this recording, Universal Hollywood Horror Nights announced that they have plans to expand into Chicago. So they're not just going to be in Florida, and I think they recently actually opened up something in Vegas as well. Now they're heading to Chicago. Me personally, I'm split on this because I think it's amazing whenever, the horror genre and entertainment can expand to become more accessible to fans and our listeners and us and, everybody involved who want a good spooky time. The downside of that as a haunted house owner, I feel that Universal Hollywood Horror Nights, they have a massive budget. They have access to properties that we cannot cover, which is kind of cool for me because I don't really necessarily get into doing established characters and properties. I like creating my own thing, but still. So I'm afraid that this is basically like I'm a mom and pop video store and Blockbuster's coming to town. And now I got to hurry up and try to keep my doors open or figure out how to, because Chicago's expensive. Universal Horror Nights is going to be expensive. I live 3 hours from Chicago. I can see people going, oh, hey, let's go check this out. But they're going to spend the money. And you're not just going to drive to Chicago, go to some haunted houses and come home. You're going to, get a hotel room, take a train, fly in, drive in. You're going to stay the night. Hey, we're here. Let's go shopping on the mile and let's go eat at our favorite restaurant. So it's good and bad.
I don't know that most people outside of Chicago will go during Halloween season is one of my hopes. I personally, if I'm going to go off season. I don't need to go during Halloween. But then again, I probably don't need to go. It's going to be mainstream stuff, which is fine. And hopefully they change it out so that at a point there is stuff that I'm like, oh, that would be cool. That restaurant would be cool themed. That house would be cool themed. And I'm not a big haunted house person anyway. But my hope is, because I typed in online, how is the haunted house industry in Florida? Because, Universal Horror Nights is in Florida and it's not all year round, but it's at the same time that all these haunted houses are going on. And everything I read was that the haunted house industry in Florida is booming and doing very well.
Outside of Universal?
Outside of Universal, because people after a year or two, I don't need to go again. I'm going to stay home. I'm going to go to my haunted houses. I'm going to support local. My other worry is, though, will it hurt conventions? Is it going to hurt like a Flashback or Days of the Dead? Because people are going to be like, I don't need to go to a convention. I can just go to Horror Night, or I went to Horror Nights. I vended, I bought stuff. I did all this stuff. I don't need to go to a show and pay $80 and then pay more to do stuff that I've already done at Horror Nights.
I guess it's a possibility. Although they're in the same universe, they are two completely different experiences, though. You're not going to go to Universal Horror Nights and go through a haunted house and get to meet Robert Englund or Felissa Rose or Kane Hodder or, go on and on and on. You're not going to get to shop great vendors and talented artists, and you're not going to get the after parties and just the experience that conventions, big and small, offers. So, but I do see what you're saying, especially super mainstream fans. They're going to, there's a chance they could go there and consume their horror that way and get their fill for a while and split. So I do want to read this real quick. This was kind of a follow-up. This was on a Facebook group that I'm a part of called Haunter's Toolbox, and this was from the Haunted Attraction Network. It says Universal just announced bringing Horror Unleashed to Chicago, but there's more to the story than another haunted attraction. This marks the second location for Universal's year-round horror concept before the first one in Las Vegas has even opened. Why the rush? It's less about haunts and more about hedging investors' confidence ahead of Comcast's July 31st earnings call. It always comes down to money if there's any truth to this. Comcast lost $199 1,000 broadband subscribers last quarter, and with YouTube pulling older audiences away from cable, the decline is accelerating. Theme parks and location-based entertainment are becoming Comcast's lifeboat, and Horror Unleashed is part of that pivot. I didn't know that. The Chicago announcement raises serious questions. There's no built-in foot traffic like in Vegas. The market is already saturated with elite haunted attractions that offer multiple walkthroughs, themed bars, and immersive storytelling, which that's a side note too before I finish this little blurb here, is haunts have evolved into, across the nation, into just what they said, very niche and catchy things like haunted bars and special movie nights and bringing celebrities in like I'm doing at Haunting in the Hills. So I don't know if they're going to be able to involve themselves in that as well. The horror IPs that Universal can use without licensing, like Universal Monsters, aren't exactly driving crowds. Just look at the early performance of Dark Universe. And even if they do seasonal overlays, weekday demand during the off season, like you just said, Brian, will be a huge challenge in a city known for frigid winters. In short, this move, it feels more like a strategic press release than a proven expansion plan. And there's a whole lot more to that article, but I thought it was interesting.
And most people were like, well, it's not even going to be in Chicago. No, it's downtown. It's a couple blocks from the train station. Maybe not a couple blocks, but it's within reason of the train station. So it's downtown Chicago. And like you said, Chicago has some horror properties that are established and people love. I mean, the Horror House, where they bring in celebrities, where our friend Josh Perlmutter and I think even Matt go there and do things with them. A lot of people from Flashback. And then there's, I can't remember the one that's in St. Charles where my son lives, but it's free. You go in, you shop, you look at all this awesome artwork and merch. They have free pinball. They have themed rooms. I'm not dropping for it. I don't even know what it is to get in Universal. I'm guessing $100 a day.
I don't know either. I can guess it would be expensive. So
I can do this stuff for free. Why pay to go into this stuff?
Yeah, I think TerraVision's still set up there next to the music box too. I'm really split on it because I see both sides, but I know I know people who during October they go down to Florida. It's kind of like maybe if it's not every year, it's every other year. I know me as a horror fan, if I'm going to, but this is just me talking about myself. If I'm going to go do this, then I'm also going to do those other things while I'm there. But that's just me. I'm not a casual mainstream horror fan. So I don't know. I feel like I don't want to drag the whole show with it, but it's very interesting what's going to happen, and the ripple effect is going to be again interesting to see how far the ripple effect goes and how it affects everything.
Yeah, my one last point would be the only good thing I could see is maybe it shines a little brighter light on the horror community. People see what's going on there and they're like, well, maybe I have stuff local that I could go to that I could check out because I really enjoyed that. I'm going to go back home to Ann Arbor or Detroit and then find your place and say, well, this is right here. Let's go check that out.
It would be really cool, even if just inclusive to Chicago, that they actually reach out and partner up with the Chicago Horror Film Festival. And maybe this is an opportunity to make things bigger. But I also know that when you have too many people trying to get in the pot and too many captains on the ship, things can go south quick. So I do know for a fact out of the whole thing, if and when I go, if and when they set up, I am going to wind up poor. I'm just kidding. I'm already poor, but I'm going to wind up poorer.
So on this episode of Poor, what'd you call me? The Thrifter? Not the Drifter, the Thrifter. Oh, you're muted.
The Thrifter. Yeah, you drift and you thrift.
And I thrift.
The Drifting Thrifter. There we go. We have another B movie idea, and let's do it.
So the first thing I got, this didn't cost me anything in a roundabout way. I paid for it, but I got a t-shirt and a sticker from our friends at Mad Ghoul Radio. He didn't charge me for it, but I had sent him a book and I'd send him this and he sends me this. So we're kind of like bartering on the old system. Instead of goats and chickens, we're trading horror merch.
Chickens.
And then I stopped at a Secondhand Smoke, our friends down there, and gave them a flyer a couple weeks ago for Snake Alley Festival film. And they had Bringing Out the Dead on VHS for a couple bucks. And if you buy a VHS, you get a little VHS matchbook. And I got Dawn of the Dead. And these are just super cool.
I thought you already had that.
No, I picked this one up today. Unless I had it and sold it.
Yeah, I think you already had one.
Yeah, I got this one. I mean, I got Evil Dead, Maximum Overdrive, and Jaws sitting over there too. But I know I'll share these up on the socials, so take a look if you want to see what they're. They're little matchboxes, but they're like VHS tapes.
They're fun.
I picked up a old Viewmaster, a GAF Viewmaster from like the 70s. This was $5. I picked it up because it's vintage.
That might improve your vision.
I don't even know what's in here. Some little creepy cartoon. So I picked this up. It's cool.
I swear I saw recently that somebody, again, I think it was Fright Rags or Trick or Treat Studios, was selling the Viewmaster discs of horror films.
Yeah, it's Fright Rags. Yeah, so now I could grab some of them because now I can watch them. And then I grabbed Goosebumps Most Wanted. And this one's Planet of the Lawn Gnomes and Frankenstein's Dog. I think it's number 1 and number 4. But you don't see Goosebumps hardcovers very often.
No.
They were $2 a piece. So I was like, okay, I'll grab those for Finley, for myself, because that's about my reading level too. $2 though. I was like, I can't pass up Goosebumps for $2. Even though paperbacks, I think most places have them for $4 or $5, the old used ones, unless it's something that's collectible one. And then the thrift of the century. No, not really, but Green Slime on DVD.
Green Slime. That's cool.
You believe it when you find something screaming across your mind. Green slime.
It's funny, I was at the Purple Hanger here in town, which is a resale shop, and all their money goes to the battered women's shelter to help, people find housing and get legal representation if they've been in a relationship, a bad relationship. And I had picked up Viva Las Vegas, and I was like, oh, Viva Las Vegas. And I'm looking at it, checking it, and I wasn't going to buy it. I just wanted to look at it. And the lady next to me was looking through movies too, and she pulled Green Slime off, and she's looking at it and checking the disc, see if it looks good. And I said, oh, can I see that? And she said, if I can see Viva Las Vegas. So we switched discs. I said, I don't need to see Viva Las Vegas again anyway.
But you always need to see Green Slime again and again.
And it's in black and white. It's not even the color version.
I didn't know there was a black and white. Have you watched it? Or is it just the pictures on the back of it?
I haven't watched it yet. No, I just got it yesterday. It says remastered edition. Oh, I don't know. It looks really good. Hell, I'll have to put it on in the background. I even told that lady, I was like, do you know this movie? And she's like, no. I was like, you should just listen to the theme song. You'll be sold.
Green Slime. I love it.
I'm sure I got tons of other shit because I thrifted yesterday morning. And I think that's all I got for myself, though. I think I bought stuff for everybody else.
You should have bought me the Green Slime. Do you know I do not own a copy of Green Slime?
Really? Well, if I find another one, I'll get it for you. It was $1.
Let me know. Yeah. I'll take it. Chances of finding that movie in the wild again are slim to none. But
oh, you've never met the Thrifter Drifter.
For the thrifter, anything's possible.
I probably got it in that case. The fucking 15 totes of movies I got, it's probably in there.
I don't know who has a bigger problem, you or me. I don't really know, but...
What'd you get?
So, a couple weeks ago, we had it'll be about a month ago now by the time this episode comes out, did the Maximum Overdrive event out to Hunting in the Hills, showed the Wraith, and showed Maximum Overdrive. I did not have a physical copy of the Wraith, and so I was looking around because that was kind of a last-minute decision to add that to the bill. So I'm looking around trying to find a Blu-ray of the Wraith to show. The only place I found one where I could get it on time was through Target, and it was like $10 for the Blu-ray. And I'm like, all right, sweet. Target would not ship it to me. It wasn't, I needed to spend $35 more to get free shipping. I needed to spend $35 more. They weren't even going to ship it. Yeah, it was, I read it 3 or 4 times. I'm like, well, this is weird. But so I'm like, fuck, well, I don't need anything right now. And I'm like, I don't really have the money to spend. So I'm like, no. So finally I was like, I've been wanting that NECA Evil Dead 2-pack with Ash and Cheryl, and that was more than $35, but I went ahead and bought that. So, yeah, I didn't expect to do any of that. I'm like, sweet, I found the Blu-ray for $10. I feel like the thrifter. But, no, I wound up having to be the gifter, gift my money to Target so I could just get it. But I got something cool out of the deal, so. And in addition to that, this is actually, I think this was a gift, to be honest, but I've had it for a while, but it goes along with the movie that we're covering later. This is a Distinctive Dummies, which it's rare to see Distinctive Dummies in a clamshell case. Usually they're the long box. but it is Steve West from The Incredible Melting Man. We've talked about this in episodes past. Former co-host Jason used to try to get this off me, I think, and I said, hell no, it's mine. This is number 59 of 60. And so I have one of a very limited few. And now that I know that Rick Baker did the effects for this, I think if he ever does a convention, I'm going to ask him to sign this, because then this thing would be platinum.
That looks really good.
It's in super good shape. The one thing I don't like about Distinctive Dummies is you pop it open super easily. The figures move around kind of loose, so you got to be careful with it or you're going to screw something up. But yeah, it's pretty accurate. Even the facial features.
Accurate to what? Him melting?
Yeah.
He's different through the whole fucking movie.
Well, it's because the one eye is all jacked up and he's grimacing. Yeah, he looks like a pizza roll that's been left in the microwave for too long.
Looks like Pizza the Hut from Spaceballs. You ever see that?
I love Spaceballs. They announced the sequel recently. They're going to come out with a sequel. I can't wait to see that.
Another reason we'll be poor.
Well, I mean, you're poor, I'm poor. I don't have your sweet thrifting skills, so I know I could use some cash. You want to take it to a sponsor?
Sure. So now that we've heard from our sponsor, it's time for our movie, the 1977 American science fiction horror film, Sure It's Fiction.
Wink, wink.
Yeah. Directed by William Scott's SACHS, The Incredible Melting Man.
Sun through the rings of Saturn.
Astronaut Stephen West was returning from outer space. But something terrible had happened.
Remember now, his mind is so completely decomposed.
We've got to find him.
He's gonna need human cells to live on.
Stephen West had turned into the Incredible Melting Man.
And the more he kills, the longer he's going to live.
This should have been called The Incredible Melting Asshole, because he's a fucking prick. He's just messing with people he don't even need to mess with.
Because his brain melted. He reverted to an animal. He was confused and he was in and out of being lucid. But I cannot believe that we are finally covering the movie that for years has been the reason of my fear of bushes. The same type of fern type pine trees that were in that movie were at my grandparents' house when I watched this for the first time as a kid. So I was always afraid that some melty, gooey man was going to eat me.
And if I remember right, I've watched this a handful of times, and I would imagine on the first viewing it was on TV, because I don't remember any nudity, any blood and guts. I just remember him melting, and I don't remember him melting nearly as much as he melted this morning when I watched it.
I'm pretty sure that they cut a lot of gore out of this film to begin with, and then on top of that, I'm sure there was a TV edit, because that's actually later on in my notes I was going to talk about. One of the interesting things about this movie is it's very clean. It's in normal settings, so the gore stands out even more and is almost even more shocking in stark contrast to the very clean small town background. But one thing and it was TV. Brian, I guarantee you that you and I both watched this on the WGN out of Chicago Saturday Shocker. That's where I remember seeing it when I was, a preteen. You immediately know when you start watching this, especially if you watch it from the very beginning, that you're watching a sci-fi flick.
Oh yeah,
this is sci-fi horror.
They did the opening really well. They overlaid who's in the movie and who directs it and that kind of stuff over the opening with that countdown that is throughout the whole movie, that thinking of it now, it's kind of that same thing that was in the 28 years later.
It's what it made me think of when I watched, yeah.
Those people are pulling stuff from these older films. I mean, I would imagine most people that are into horror films have seen this, or maybe it's more of a sci-fi film, but it's definitely both. And I'll give you a little synopsis before we get too far in. If you've never seen this film, it tells the story of Steve West, an astronaut who is exposed to high levels of radiation during a space mission to Saturn. After returning to Earth, Steve begins to undergo a grotesque transformation. His flesh literally begins to melt off his body. As his mind deteriorates alongside his body, he becomes violent and murderous, compelled to consume human flesh in a desperate attempt to survive.
Or as Brian put it, he turns into an asshole.
He was. He scares the nurse off early in the film. He's kind of playing possum, right? They're like, oh my God, how do you survive? Oh no, nurse, get him blood. And he just like fucking gets up and is like, time to go, bitches.
Right, pulls his shit off. It was an interesting scene because it looked like he saw an image of himself in the mirror for the first time when he rips the bandages off. And it looked like he wanted to break the mirror. But in real time, the actual actor was like, I'm not going to break this mirror. That's bad luck.
7 years bad luck. And all I got left is 7 days.
Wasn't there 7 rings of Saturn? Because that's where they were, like looking through the rings of Saturn for the sun. Speaking of that, this is kind of a goofy little comment, but we are taught as children to not look directly into the sun. So why in the fuck did these trained astronauts think that it was okay to be closer to the sun in space and look at it that way?
I was trying to look up the one guy's, the main actor, because he looks familiar.
He looks like a porn star.
The Incredible Melting Man, A Nightmare on Elm Street, The Dream Child, and Turner and Hooch are his credits on Internet Movie Database.
Yeah, I was going to get into some of the star power in a little bit, but yeah, so Bird DeBenning, who played our lead hero, I can't remember the character's name right now, but he had a bit part as one of the parents in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5 and has been in Turner and Hooch. If you go and look at the, and I'll get more into the cast here in just a little bit, but a lot of the cast is accomplished for their time. They've been in shows, across pop culture.
I mean, you look at his freaking IMDb and it's Little House on the Prairie, Wonder Woman, Starsky and Hutch, just TV show after TV shows, Rockford Files, Columbo, that were popular at the time this film came out and in that era. So he may not have had a lot of movie credits, but he was in everything that was on TV.
And if you look at the rest of the cast, because I did, and all of them are pretty much like that. They've all been in this show, that show, and all these landmark shows of the time. But one thing I noticed before I got around to start digging into the cast is we talk a lot about how 4K and Blu-ray cleans things up. We said it a gajillion times about how it actually, in our opinion, hurts the Chainsaw Massacre. I actually enjoyed the cleaned up Blu-ray version of this movie. I can only imagine it looks better in 4K. And just, you brought up the nurse. What better way to see clear the extended nurse running scene in the beginning? It just went on and on. Do you think it was filler?
No, unless, one of the things I found out is the studio interfered. The studio was like, no, we're not going to do it that way. The director wanted the film to be more of a satirical comedy horror hybrid, but the studio's like, no, straightforward horror, straightforward science fiction. And I feel like the comedy bled in a little bit at times, but maybe not as much as he wanted it to. So who knows what got cut and what got filled in there to make it what the studio deemed horror.
This almost sounds like the movie that nobody wanted to make, because then you get into the special effects. And I found out that Rick Baker was originally resistant to working on the movie, feeling he had moved past B horror movies at this point in his career, but he threw out a high figure for his work. And when producers accepted it, he came on board. He was like, I don't want to, give me $1 million. I don't know what it was. And they're like, okay. And he said, oh, shit. All right, I guess I got to do the effects.
You said you were going to do it for this much, and here we are. Amazing, absolutely amazing special effects, practical effects. Could not have been better.
No, top notch. I mean, if you're going to rate this movie just simply based on effects, it's an 11 out of 10. They were, amazing. There's not a better word to say. I also found out, because there was effects royalty working on this. Again, Rick Baker. I found out that Rob Bottin from The Fog, Maniac, RoboCop, The Thing, just to name a few, he's uncredited as an assistant makeup artist for the film as well. So there was some power behind this movie.
Any scene that has any kind of special effects, gore, anything like that, you watch it and it's great. I mean, from beginning to end.
Well, and some more on the effects too. Reportedly, we would have seen even more. Reportedly, makeup artist Rick Baker created a number of gruesome appliances that were never used in the film because Alex Rebar, who played Steve West, the Incredible Melting Man, refused to wear them.
Oh, where are those at? Just laying around, probably in a trash can somewhere.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they're all disintegrated because I think he used, I'm just guessing, from my limited makeup experience, it looked like he used a lot of like gelatin, which, you don't save that. You put it on, it melts, and you're done. But so I also came across this where it said that Baker initially created 4 distinct stages of makeup evolution or devolution. Is that devolution? De-evolution of the character for Steve West, who would gradually transform into this eroding, melting creature as time went on. However, due to the 2 stages of editing, the phases were removed. Now, first of all, I don't really understand the 2 phases of editing, what they mean by that, unless they're talking about they put it together and then it went in for like a post where they did different things. But I do know that this low budget film was shot in 14 days.
Wow. A lot of places call this a B horror film. I don't feel like it's a B horror film or a B science fiction film. Do you feel? I mean, low budget and shot in 14 days, but I don't feel like this is campy. It doesn't look bad. It doesn't sound bad. There's not bad acting. The story's good. What makes this B just because people deemed it that?
I think what makes this movie or why it gets categorized as a B movie is, although again, if you look through the actors' credits, it had some star power, but it didn't have the 77, right?
Yep.
It didn't have Burt Reynolds attached to it. It didn't have big names of the time attached to it. So you had a relatively, in comparison, lesser known cast. And I really think, like you said, the studio got involved, and it sounds like there were some things on set that it got cut and they were rushed, that it wasn't as polished of a product. So I think that's why it gets lumped in that category.
Of course, critics panned it at the time. It's got a low score on Internet Movie Database. I think it had like a 4.3 out of 10. It's a cult classic now. I mean, Vinegar Syndrome re-released it on 4K. MST-K3s at Mystery Science Theater covered it on an episode of the show. It's got a cult status, and maybe it's a sign of the times now when we have something that is great but has a lesser known cast. We don't categorize it as B. I've never heard anybody say, well, Terrifier is a B horror film, because it would be a B horror film by these standards.
Like B horror films kind of went away, I guess, and now it's indie. The gentle euphemism for B is indie now. This feels like one of those outside. There you go. It's outside the Hollywood mainstream studio production. This had all the hallmarks of a studio production, but it was outside of that. That's just like Kingdom of the Spiders, which this movie reminds me of a little bit, because it's kind of deserty-ish, sort of. A great movie. It's a professional studio film, but it's not the Hollywood mainstream.
So if this was in Antarctica, it'd be called The Incredible Frozen Man, because instead of melting, he would have froze, right? He would have just stood there and froze, and that would have been the end of the movie. It'd been like 5 minutes long.
It's interesting you brought that up, because I just sent a picture to our news chat. I don't know if you saw it. I came across it last night, or I'm going to get off track here. And this came from The Thing Collector page. And it said, back in 2005, the Sci-Fi Channel planned a miniseries sequel to John Carpenter's The Thing called Return of the Thing. And it was supposed to be produced by Frank Darabont. For whatever reason, it never happened.
Well, and I didn't understand. It says it would have picked up years later in the New Mexico desert, where Soviet scientists discovered the frozen bodies of McCready and Childers, however you say it. Why the fuck are the Soviets in the New Mexico desert?
Haven't you ever seen Red Dawn? Come on, this is all coming together. This is all...
Oh, shit.
Life is one big movie.
Oh, damn. So the Soviets won in Red Dawn, then.
We need to start making those like conspiracy theory videos.
That's all we would do. We'd have to wear 10 hats out of the house every damn day.
Well, how about 12? Because I'm going to throw 2 other movies into this mix. So I came across this side note. Stephen King's short story, I Am the Doorway, is said to be somewhat similar to The Incredible Melting Man's plot. King's story is about an astronaut named Arthur who undergoes disturbing changes after being exposed to an extraterrestrial mutagen during a mission to Venus, which leads to his body being overtaken by the alien presence to commit murders. The story was initially published in 1971 in Cavalier magazine, a year after this film's release. The story was collected in King's short story collections Night Shift. So add that into this mix, because we're mixing up The Incredible Melting Man's makeup right now, which is a melty goo of a ton of shit. That little blurb made me think of Invisible Invaders, where aliens have taken over everything. And then on top of that, a couple days ago, friend of the show, our friend Roland Keller, sent me this video video, and another childhood buddy of mine sent me this too, about maximum overdrive theory, where it was actually aliens, invisible aliens, driving the vehicles in there. And that's why some vehicles did and some vehicles didn't. Some machines attacked and some didn't. You just add all this together and it just blows my mind.
And I've seen pictures lately of this large object coming relatively close to Earth, which, I mean, it's millions of miles away, but it's glowing brightly. And they're like, oh, it's probably an asteroid, but it's glowing really bright. So, it's probably an asteroid. Don't worry. What do you mean, don't worry? We just don't worry about it. Kind of like these people. It'll be fine. We'll find him. No one needs to know what's going on. Typical government stuff. Here we go being conspiracy theorists again. They don't want anybody to know that this guy's out melting and eating fucking people. I can't tell you, Sheriff. I can't tell it's not his wife. She's pregnant, but, they're not married. Can't tell anybody that this guy, not even hey, everybody, stay inside. Lock your doors. There's a wild coyote pack or cougars or something, a bear loose or something to just keep people inside. No, it just won't say a damn thing.
Yeah, they just kind of keep showing up to the crime scenes because the Incredible Melting Man is meandering around the countryside and just, kind of killing whoever he comes across. There's real no rhyme or reason. And they just show up. What are you doing here? I don't know. Just saw some lights out here in the woods.
That's when the comedy bleeds in as he meanders through the countryside. The first person he comes across is a guy fishing. And I'm laughing out loud. The guy's throwing the pole in, trying to, well, no fish. How about a beer? He grabs a beer. And then he kind of hears, the melting man coming. Hey, you're going to scare the fish away. What are you doing? I'm just like, what the fuck? It's comedy. A little bit of comedy still bleeds into this film because there's a part at the end. I thought that was the funniest line, and you get to the end, and there's a line that's even funnier than that.
You want to add another entertainment entity into this gooey mix? Okay, I found out that Matt, I can't pronounce his last name, whatever. Matt, your last name starts with an M, is the creator of Aqua Teen Hunger Force, one of my favorite shows. He has stated that this film, The Incredible Melting Man, has inspired him to make films. He says that when he was 8, he watched The Incredible Melting Man and knew that horror movies were going to be a big religion in his life.
Yeah, and it probably came out in 77, 82, 83, 84, probably about 6, 7, 8 was probably when I watched this. And this is one of the reasons we're covering this is one of my early childhood memories of horror films. It's one of the ones that I remember. It was early on in my love of movies and horror films. This is it. Like, it starts with this. It goes to Face of the Death. It goes to Truth or Dare, Critical Consequence. And then later on, I got into Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th and Halloween. But I think that's one of the things that pushes me more towards the outside of that mainstream as I started with this stuff.
Same.
Not with the mainstream stuff. Not that I don't enjoy Friday the 13th Part 5 and all those naked women and all the smut, because that bleeds into this film too. For a little portion in the middle, it's that smutty 70s film.
Where he's taking pictures of the girl
and he's, oh, yeah, baby, just do that. And then he rips the girl's top off. She's nude. And then this asshole's taking pictures of her as she's sitting in the back of the police car bawling because they find the dead body of the fisherman. I'm like, this guy's just a dirty fucking... He's the grossest thing about this film. Not even the melting man. He's the nastiest thing in the fucking whole movie. The photographer.
There was nothing out of place about that scene except for it almost felt like they put that scene in just to have an excuse to have a little bit of nudity, so it appealed to just about everybody, everything that it brought to the table. No, I'm the same way. And then it kind of goes back to the universal horror thing we were talking about earlier is, we here on this show, it almost sounds like we knock mainstream, and we don't. We enjoy that as well, but it shows, Brian, what you were saying about how it all goes together. Because yeah, I'm the same way. I started with this and I Spit on Your Grave and movies like that. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, there's these mainstream movies too that everybody likes. I'm like, oh, this is this great big universe. So this movie definitely plays an important part for you and for myself and for I think a lot of people.
Yeah, and when you said universal, it reminds me early on in the film when the little girl sees the melting man.
Frankenstein.
And I'm thinking nowadays kids would say Freddy Krueger, or I mean, that would be about the most mainstream that would be melted.
They wouldn't say Jason Voorhees. They'd probably be afraid of getting sued.
Yeah. Shh, we're not supposed to say that, Clint.
It's the killer from the Jason universe. It's the killer from the Jason universe. Oh, Jesus Christ. Get over yourself.
That was just another fun segment. And the little boys are laughing reading Playboy.
What went wrong? Kids used to read Playboy, play in the woods, smoke cigarettes, and now they're just on their phones. But no, because at the core, The Incredible Melting Man is a love letter to sci-fi horror films of the 50s and 60s. And it's almost like, John Carpenter, we brought up The Thing earlier. John Carpenter did The Thing. That was because The Thing influenced him. And it's obvious that those movies influenced the director, the writer, Rick Baker as a makeup artist on this film. We were talking earlier about some of the cast. You brought up Bird DeBenning, who played our lead, Ted Nelson, that's his name. We talked about him being part of Friday Part 5. One of his actually most famous claims to fame, blah, 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 say that 10 times real fast, is he resembles my great Uncle Murray. So, there's that. He's got that going for him.
He kind of looked like the guy from The Incredible Hulk at times.
He did. Oh, yeah. The guy before he turned into the monster.
Yeah, the old, 1970s Incredible Hulk, the original on TV. And when you talk about the old science fiction, it's like the 1950s horror tropes that pulled from those movies. And I found a couple. First Man into Space and The Quatermass Experiment are two that this movie pulled very heavily from. And some recycled footage at the beginning from some NASA stuff that helped keep the money, the budget low and smaller. But even then, it wasn't out of place. It fit well. They're showing you, I think it's the sun, the layers of the sun, how the lava or whatever the hell it is coming off the sun.
It's a solar burst or a solar flare.
That was cool too. And it all fit. It's not out of place. It's not like that one Italian shark movie where the shark is like a different breed than the shark they're even fighting.
God, that movie was terrible. It's like, I think it's the worst movie we've covered on this show.
Oh, come on now. We still got time.
Yeah, there's time. Wait till you hear the next episode. No, just kidding. So speaking of old sci-fi throwbacks and tropes, this isn't a trope, but Myron Healy, who played General Perry, he was often the villain in 50s sci-fi films. So they went straight to the source and pulled actors in from movies of those times. Probably the most recognizable for me was Michael Aldridge, and he played Sheriff Blake. He's been in several projects, including Scarface, V, and a film that I refer to often, The Entity. Did he look familiar to you? He's one of those guys that's been in every 70s and 80s project, and he plays a sheriff a lot. So probably the most famous of them all, Brian. Leslie Wilson, who played Dr. Loring. He was in an episode of
Night Court.
Night Court.
We don't need to have you on the wrong podcast, to talk about Night Court. You do it on this show all the time.
I even snuck it in our conversation with Butch a few times.
You did. Yeah.
Despite a limited merchandise campaign, including a Halloween costume, which is super cool. And you can look that up on eBay, and you can find one every once in a while, and they're super expensive. They had candles, they had candy. Despite all that, this film didn't hit VHS until 9 years after its release. And you brought up Mystery Science Theater 3000. It didn't seem to really gain popularity until after being knocked out. Well, I say knocked because they kind of riffed on that show.
You can buy an Incredible Melting Man t-shirt a lot of places. And someone on Etsy has a 4.5-inch tall Incredible Melting Man figure. So, I mean, there's merch around.
I think if you go to Gary Poland, Ghoulish Gary Poland, I think he did some artwork for a recreation of the poster of this, which is pretty sweet looking too.
I would imagine that's, if you can find it, it's probably expensive because his artwork is great.
I think it's the same cover as the 4K.
Yeah, from Vinegar Syndrome. That's why I'm poor, because I bought 2 copies. One for me and one for you.
Thank you. You want to knock this film? Well, I want to knock it. I've got paid.
You want to knock it?
I want to knock it. There's some stuff that about this film, although it's special for you, it's special for me. It's a great gory horror film. There's good and bad quality. Most of the movie, you have no idea where it's going. And that's kind of a good bad thing, right? But kind of like the Melting Man himself, he just wanders. He actually kind of reminds me of the Tar Man. And it was like, wow, maybe this is like the origin story of the Tar Man. So zombie fans will love this film. But it gets to the point where showcasing the Melting Man becomes kind of redundant. It's just the same thing in different settings. It made me think of the nurse scene that gets really slowed down. Like, are all these scenes of him just wandering around in different settings? Was it just there for filler to get to that 90 minutes or whatever, you know?
Well, and going back to the house to talk to his girlfriend who's pregnant, and a lot of that seems like filler. Oh, you're okay. It's a turkey leg.
Yeah, it just, well, and then it gets to the point where it really bogs down after the mother is killed stealing lemons. And that's where you get into that turkey leg going back to the house. And it just kind of seemed like they didn't quite know what to do. And then after the general is found dead, you do this weird cut to this other couple, and you know, the Melting Man goes into the home and, you know, or is in there or something and kills him. Why did she lock herself in the house? He's trying to get at her into the kitchen. She blocks the door with the fridge. She could shoot out the back door and leave, but she locks herself in.
Well, and it's almost weird too, because at most points in the movie, he's really slow and methodical. And then later on in the movie, you see him running like a fucking Olympic athlete. So it's like, which is it?
They threw a line in there where they said, he seems to be getting stronger the more he melts. Yeah, it was kind of weird.
Till he loses an arm because it just melted off.
Well, no, that the chick that locked herself in the kitchen, he tries to get her through the window and she cuts it off with like a butcher knife or something like that. And then again, we see this extended scene. It was well acted, but her mental breakdown trying to process everything that just happened to her went on forever. So those are just some of my knocks.
You could have chopped this down to what, hour and 15 minutes probably.
I'd say so for sure.
But studios probably like, well, we got to have an hour and a half, because we've talked about that on the past episodes. All that early Universal stuff and a lot of the early stuff, hour and 15 minutes, you're done. That's the whole day. You don't need any more. But at some point it became an hour and a half was like gold standard. If it was an hour and a half, it wasn't a feature.
When I first started writing screenplays, which I haven't written anything in forever, but I grabbed all these old books and I was like, you know, trying to figure out the format and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, 90 minutes was kind of, you know, preached as the go-to.
Other than that, I really enjoy this film to this day.
I do too, and regardless of the issues, which are not really big issues, you know, of some of the mechanics of the film, it has a superb ending. This has a great ending, and it's another one of those movies. It ends. We don't go beyond the ending. They tease that it's getting ready to happen again with a new crew, but it just ends.
I thought you were talking about the maintenance man cleaning up the fucking dead body. And he's like, what is this? He's just like putting it in the trash can.
It was funny. It was gory. It made sense.
And then he gets pissed off and kind of wanders off. So you don't know what happens after that. The scientist's body or the police.
And you don't need to.
It's just the end.
Except for you hear the radio over, because I think the maintenance guy is listening to the radio and they're launching another crew into space.
To understand the scope of this achievement in the never-ending challenge of space exploration, we should remember the last flight into space, when astronauts Steve West, Marshall McManus, and Michael Wells paved the way for this extraordinary mission. It is unfortunate that they cannot be here today. Amidst all the excitement and joy at Cape Kennedy, they are still under observation at a mobile quarantine unit under the supervision of Dr. Theodore Nelson. However, they have sent a telegram wishing the crew of Scorpio 7 good hunting.
That was something, too, that I thought if they ever want to do a sequel or a comic series or a prequel, is there were 4 people on that ship, on that spaceship, and they make real quick reference in the beginning that the other 3, outside of Steve West, the incredible Melting Man, went quicker than he did.
Because he's stronger than them.
So 4 of these people went through the same thing, and then I thought to myself, they could do like a Toxic Avenger League, you know, a league of melty space madness superheroes.
They're not heroes, though. They're villains because they're eating people to survive.
Well, just, you know, they just got to eat the right people. They'd be heroes. Hell, I don't know.
What do you think? Should we rate it?
Let's do it.
I think I'm going to go... I'm trying to not be biased from my childhood. Like you said, special effects, it's 11. Acting, and a little bit too long. I'm going to go 7. I'll stick with 7. I'll go 7 out of 10 perverted cameramen. He's fucking... that. I'm not even scared of the Melting Man. I'm scared that my children, or somebody's children, will get stuck with somebody like that taking their pictures. That's the scariest thing in the whole fucking movie to me.
He was a slime ball, but I'm going to go 8 tragic endings out of 10. I love the ending of this film, but it was tragic. You have our lead who's trying to find the melting man, trying to help the melting man, and then something rather unfortunate happens to him. We try not to give this one away, so I'll keep that a secret. You got to watch it if you haven't seen it to see what happens. And you're just like, damn, really? It's just kind of grim. In all reality, just kind of like you said, this should be a 7 because there are some mechanic issues. And again, we just kind of discovered on this journey and research for this film that it was studio's involvement and slicing things down, a limited budget, a 14-day shoot. So it should be a 7. But I've always loved this movie. Again, we talk about gateway horror. Our gateway horror is pretty fucked up compared to what actually gateway horror should be. So I've always loved this movie, so I'm going to go 8.
Yeah, and I'll give you some physical media releases. So originally released in 1980 by MGM Home Video, often found in, horror rental store selections on VHS. Streaming, I watched it on Tubi, which up until this month, it was nowhere streaming except for like a random Roku channel. And those channels are weird because they'll be on for a month and then they'll disappear. I think it was on MGM Plus with, of course, you had to subscribe. Blu-ray, Scream Factory, Shout Factory, released a collector's edition Blu-ray in 2014, featuring a new transfer, commentary tracks, interviews of the director and makeup artist. And the Big Daddy Vinegar Syndrome released it on 4K. Was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, about that.
I think it was about 2 years ago with a beautiful slipcover. Did you get the slipcover on yours?
Yes.
The beautiful slipcover, beautiful artwork. I think mine is maybe even still sealed. Hell, I don't even know. I'd have to go pull it off the shelf. It looks amazing from what I've seen other people have showed me. And that artwork's just, the back of that case is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
The front is amazing, but that back is just simple and really well done. What do you think? Should we hear from our podcast network?
They don't look as good as the artwork.
Oh, no.
Well, I guess maybe a couple of them.
They kind of look like the Incredible Melting Man. Some of them.
Yeah, we're a group of incredible melting men sitting in a bar or a basement or a movie theater somewhere.
How would you like to clean up that mess?
Ugh. Why do you think the maintenance guy was pissed off?
Oh, yeah.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
So now we've heard from our podcast network. It's time for recommendations. And Clint gave you some earlier in the show, but I have 10 more movie recommendations.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are about to enter a world of darkness. A world where life and death are meaningless, and pain is God. Woo! Hey!
And at number 1, First Man into Space.
Wait. You got to count down backward. 10, 9, 8. It's like a space launch.
Oh, it started at 10?
Yeah.
Well, here, I got to find my notes then.
10.
At number 10 from 2020, Possessor. An assassin that uses brain implant technology to inhabit people's bodies with deeply disturbing identity breakdowns. More of a body horror, psychological, maybe not the science fiction-y, but sometimes you got to find 10 movies. It's, kind of hard to find 10 movies that line up perfectly with this film.
Mm-hmm.
From 1985, number 9.
9.
The Stuff. They meld in the stuff from the inside out.
Yeah.
Oozy body invading goo. People know the stuff. I mean, number 8. Are you going to do the
8?
Right? From 2019, Color Out of Space. A mysterious meteorite infects a family's land, mutating everything it touches. So another cosmic body horror film, with Nicolas Cage. Number 7.
From
1993, Body melt. You know body melt?
That rings a bell, but I don't, not clearly.
Residents of an Australian suburb become test subjects for a health supplement that causes extreme body deformations.
No.
Pure 90s VHS, and yeah, Australian too.
Ooh, I'm going to check that one out.
From 1989, and this is mostly for one scene, but Society.
Yeah. I don't even know what number we're at now, but yes, Society
6,
you need to watch.
Yeah.
Yep, the whole ending of that film, you're like, holy shit.
Are you talking to me, asshole? Number 5. From 2006, Slither.
Oh, I love that film. And it is one of those films, especially as it goes on. Even I have a strong stomach and I'm a seasoned horror fan, but I watch it and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, a small town is overrun by an alien parasite that mutes people into grotesque creatures.
One of the things about that movie I really liked was they knew it was gross and they knew it was kind of scary and kind of heavy. So they threw a lot of comedy and some slapstick in there to lighten the mood.
And great practical effects, ooey gooey practical effects in that one.
Oh,
yeah.
For sure.
Number 4. From 1987, Street Trash.
Side note, I watched a little bit of the new Street Trash. Didn't care for it.
I think it's 50-50. Everybody I've talked to. Some people love it. Some people don't. A batch of toxic liquor causes homeless people to literally melt into piles of goo. That's it. From 1986, The Fly.
3.
A scientist's body and mind deteriorates after his teleportation experiment merges him with a housefly.
Yeah, and unlike the original, the remake with Jeff Goldblum is just gory and drippy and gooey.
Number 2, The Quartermass Experiment from 1955, known as a creeping unknown in the U.S. A returning astronaut brings back a horrific alien infection that slowly transforms him. Directly inspired the Incredible Melting Man. It's a British film.
What year did that come out? Do you have that?
1955. And number 1.
Blast off.
From 1959, First Man into Space. A test pilot becomes mutilated after exposure to cosmic radiation during a high-altitude mission. As a precursor to the melting man's concept, slow transformation, and tragic downfall.
And this movie, again, we could go on and on and on with recommendations for this one because it compare with any 50s, 60s science fiction horror. You could show this with Kingdom of the Spiders. They don't necessarily correlate, but you could do it. You could show this with The Thing, The Blob, any of the remakes of those films, any of that.
That scene at the end with the hobos or the homeless people reminded me of Street Trash. The one guy looks at the other guy and says, "You think we got trouble? Look at that dude."
Right, yeah.
And then he says, "Don't let him hear us. We're almost out of sauce or out of juice," I think he said. He's like, "Oh, yeah, we're almost out of."
You got to wonder if the director or the writer was watching that scene and that's what spawned that idea, melting toxic alcohol.
It's a fun watch. I would definitely recommend it to anybody that likes science fiction and horror. And if you like to drink with hobos, you may not know what the fuck is going on either, right?
They didn't.
No, they had no fucking clue. Then he says, "Did you see him? We didn't see shit." I will be gearing up, August. Other than Finley's birthday in August, I know I'm going to try to hit up a Cratastic Plastic Con, which is August 16th. So still a ways away. I will be getting back from, Snake Alley Festival of Film. So hopefully I'll have some, cool horror shorts from that I can talk about. I got to hang out with Rod that weekend. Probably going to do some thrifting and go around Burlington, but I don't really have much going on. It's kind of biding time until Halloween and convention season.
It is convention season.
No, yeah, but we've really scaled back this year. I mean, I only have the 2.
Tell me about it. I'm not going to any.
And I miss it, but at the same time, I don't miss it, if that makes sense. Oh, I might hit a Days of the Dead in November because it's, a Return of the Living Dead reunion.
I miss it. In fact, we just got done with the Butch Patrick, with the Monster Mania at Haunting in the Hills. Butch showed up about a week prior to this event. and stayed the night at the motel and was checking the place out. And he was tired when he hopped out of the truck. And I looked at him and I was like, so where you been and where you going? And he was telling me everything. And I miss it. I miss the Road Warrior stuff. You know, Boots and I, a couple weeks back, went and saw Weird Al in concert at Pine Knob.
Did he have the clown guy with him?
Yeah. Holy shit. Puddles is amazing. Oh God, how do I put this? I don't want to sound pretentious because it's like, oh, I get the art and you don't. That's not it at all. You got to understand what Puddles was doing to really appreciate it. Not only does that fucking guy have an amazing voice, but the concept of his show and what he was trying to pull off was fucking genius. And to pair that with the upbeat stuff of Weird Al, it was amazing. Have you seen him?
No, I've not seen him in person, but I've seen videos of him, and I'm like, this is fucking great.
He is so talented, so talented. And again, his act is kind of like a concept show. It's progressive and it's personal and it's wonderful. And then what was cool about that was Puddle's Pity Party. When his show ends, he goes off stage and it's kind of an intermission. You know, we get up and we're using the bathroom, grab some drinks, I had a cigarette. Weird Al's show starts and his band's on stage. And then there's a camera is following. He came from like backstage at Pine Knob, and the camera followed him all the way through all these areas, down the pavilion stairs right past us, and then on the stage. And as he's walking, you know, from the backstage area, he passes Puddles. And so you're watching this all on the screen on the stage. And Puddles is standing there. And of course, Puddles happens to be holding a fucking pie. You know what was going to happen. And Al's walking through like he's just king shit singing this song. And he just flips the pie right up in Puddles' face. Puddles is shaking his hand at him and like, oh, curse you for hitting me with this pie. The whole thing was so cool. The point of my babbling story was at about 1 o'clock in the morning, Boots and I on the way home stopped at a truck stop. We needed a pop. We needed something to snack on. I looked at her and I said, I miss being on the road. I miss late night stops at sketchy truck stops.
What'd she say to that?
She was tired, just kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, that is one thing that'll be fun hanging out with Rod. He's going to come stay at my house a couple nights. So on the way back from Burlington, we'll hit up the truck stop in Monmouth, probably hit, you know, the John and get a drink and maybe a roller dog, just kind of hang out. And I don't think we're going to be in much of a hurry to get to Burlington on Saturday. We might miss one or two of the blocks just because the town about 15 minutes away is having a citywide yard sale, and we want to, you know, hit a couple places up in Burlington, Weird Harold's, and it kind of reminds me of being on the road because you would find, maybe if you had time, a place to stop and, oh, that looks cool, let's check that out. My hope is that someday you get Haunting of the Hills to kind of this spot where it's like, okay, everything's running well, I can go do a con this weekend if I want.
Yeah, that's the goal. I think it's going to be longer than I was anticipating, but that is the goal. So outside of all that stuff, let's see. So we're done with Monster Mania. So gearing up for a couple smaller events, and they're both happening the same day out to Haunting in the Hills. I'll probably talk about them on the next episode as well. And that is Saturday, August 9th. We're doing that weekend of August 9th is the US 12 garage sale, which is the longest garage sale in Michigan. It's hundreds of miles long. If anybody listening is interested, we have a ton of great US 12 road footage. I'm renting out spots for people to come for the garage sale. So get a hold of me, send me a message, and we're doing like $40 for the day, and we have indoor bathrooms available, and it's a 10 by 10 spot. And I'm lenient on my measurements. Show up and sell your stuff, have a spot to sell or show whatever you want, whether it's a bunch of movies that Brian can buy, more copies of The Incredible Melting Man, or just junk from your garage. And then in the evening, we're going to be doing a Vincent Price double feature. And basically just show up, and we're going to be showing a couple Vincent Price movies. We will have some vendors on hand, and we're going to be showing Last Man on Earth, which we covered here on the show. And then we're going to be showing House on Haunted Hill, which is just the William Castle Vincent Price classic. And movies start at 8. It'll go to midnight or a little later. That's it for right now, besides gearing up for haunt season and gearing up for the Carnival Metal Fest that's coming up in September. And I feel like I'm forgetting something, which means I'll probably just add something along the way.
Don't forget about our announcement.
This is what I'm thinking about. Indie Spotlight will continue. We love that show. I think it's one of my favorite shows that we do, but it is going to be put on pause. Roughly a month ago, our co-host, Leah Stalker of Pure Macabre, had a house fire and lost pretty much everything. She's okay. Everybody involved is okay. Unfortunately, Leah lost a couple pets, which is a terrible thing. But so Leah's taking a break, and Leah actually gave us permission. This has happened by the time this comes out a little over a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago. Right off the bat, Leah gave us permission. She said, you can tell my story and let people know what's going on. Brian and I sit here and we discussed it and was like, we're just going to give her a little bit of time so she's not, in case anybody wants to send her. She was already getting inundated with, we're so sorry. Is there anything I can do? Which is great. But you also get to a point where that can kind of flood you and you just need some time to process and rebuild and figure out what's going on from here. So we were like, we're going to wait a little bit to make this announcement. We are going to put Indie Spotlight on hold. The initial plan is to hold it for a month or two and then kind of see where she's at and reassess from there if we're going to continue without her until she's ready. But Leah is the identity of that show.
Yeah.
If not, then it's just Brian and I sitting here talking to you guys again. And she helps bring things out of us that gives the whole show a different tone. And we just didn't feel right going on without her. Again, we'll get to that road when we come to it. If in a couple months she's still not ready, then we might throw out a show. But as of right now, Indie Spotlight is on pause.
Yeah, we felt she's just too important to the show to continue without her right now. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different. I mean, it would be kind of like one of us leaving this show and just being like, nah, we're going to go on without that other person. No, we are the identity of this show. The three of us, especially her, are the identity of that show. It'd be like replacing Becky on Roseanne or, the girl in the Munsters. It would not go unnoticed and it would not be the same.
No, not at all. It's not going away forever. And like I say, rest assured, everybody, Leah is doing fine. She's just kind of in that refocus, rebuild stage. That's what's going on with that. It sucks because we always rib each other and it's a terrible thing that happened to her. But sometimes I just want to make a joke because that's how we are with each other. Like, oh, we discovered the incredible melting house fire, stuff like that. But you can't do that because it's not fun at all.
We'll get there eventually. She'll probably do it to us before we do it to her when she comes back.
I know. And then I'm going to be like, damn it, you beat me to it.
Take care. Goodbye.
Yeah. How do you end this show and then
stay out of the fucking heat? I felt like the melting man yesterday mowing the lawn.
That was one of the reasons we wanted to cover this show too, finally, because it's been so blessed hot out.
Jesus fucking Christ. Maybe we should go to the rings of Saturn, do it the old-fashioned way. Wasn't it Saturn? Didn't that where they went?
Yeah, I couldn't follow that up with anything, so I just kind of looked at you funny.
What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.